Hi friends, it's Sarah with Ruffles and Rainboots, and today I'm going to make a holiday gnome with doll hair and a surprise. If you'd like to make it, just boop, stick around. As always, please like this video so I know you are here crafting along with me. All right, so this doll hair, I have a huge set of doll hair and I had packed it away before the move to Texas, so I'm just gonna start using it on items now going forward. The other portion about this particular pattern is we're gonna make sort of a really cool double layer hat. I'm using the Scandinavian Sweeties pattern and I'm gonna make a base, around two hats, and I'm going to sew this because I was asked for more sewing tutorials, but you absolutely can glue this. So you're going to follow the pattern. This is a premium pattern. You can get it below, and you're just going to create your base. I have shared how to glue and how to sew on this base, but you anchor, you split, and then you line up all the splits all the way around. So while I'm going to demonstrate this, I do want to say this is my best selling pattern. And the reason is because it is absolutely versatile. If you create holiday crafts for bazaars or gifts or craft fairs, this is the best selling one because it's a perfect size gnome. The pattern comes with the entire body, again, sew or glue. It comes with arms, feet, mittens, multiple mittens. It even has an entire Easter set. I've shared how to make Santas, reindeers, so many different styles with this, including my very popular shelf sitter with the very long legs and the free slopey boot pattern. So now we're to the part where you're either going to glue or sew up this base, making sure that you catch all of these fibers all the way around. Try not to sew over your pins, but do, stick to about a 1/4 inch seam allowance and you should be fine all the way around. I get asked a lot about creating patterns. I do create a lot of patterns. It's just that I also have testers. I haven't released a pattern in a while because it is a long process. I moved from Texas or Washington to Texas this year. We're still setting our house up. So that's why I haven't been releasing anything new. So the patterns I'll be sharing this holiday season are going to be some of the free patterns and the premium patterns like the Scandinavian Sweeties and the Chunky Gnome. A lot of you are requesting that one. Now, if you want to make a wow-worthy gnome, that Chunky Gnome is heirloom quality. It can only be sewn because it's so big. All right, so once you have this base on, you left your space. I'm just checking all the way around this, right? Because we want to make sure this is where our weight is going and everything is starting from this point. So I'm not going to cut those off. I'm just going to turn it right side out. I will use the blunt side of my scissors to poke out this little hole or dip. There you go. Making sure it's all the way up because we're going to fit these two pieces together so they're seamless. I like to roll my fingers around the bottom of the seam because that way the entire thing sits flat and is ready for fill. Boop. I just like dropping in on things. Boop. Anyway, all right, so now for the hat. I cut one cotton piece and one fleece piece that matched my body, and I'm just going to pin those right sides together. So I am going to leave a significant portion open over here along the side to turn it. I left mine a little bit too big, but you can leave between, 1.5 to 2.5 inches and be absolutely fine. Again, I'm going to stick with a 1/4 seam allowance. So whether you're gluing or whether you're sewing, just make sure you try and hit that. All right, so once I have this and I'm reversing my stitches to lock these in place, I'm just going to remove all the pins and turn it right side out. Did I speed this part up? I have so many videos to edit, you all. It's insane. If you love to edit videos, leave me a comment down below. All right, so I'm just using, again, the blunt edge of my scissors to poke out all three corners of this hat. Now you can see that this opening will close. All you have to do is just sort of finger press it together and it'll close. You can top stitch the whole thing if you want. I'm lazy and I didn't do that. So I would recommend more pins than less, but you see what I'm doing here? I'm putting it so this stripe pattern is actually showing through that back seam. Now I'm going to stop it about 1.5 inches above the base of this hat. And the reason is because I want it to flay out on the sides. But I also want that all that stripey is going to show in between. And again, that's my choice. You don't have to do that. But I just sort of made sure that I tried to have that little, I thought it was kind of cute, little peekaboo hat showing in the back. And you can see I can still flay those edges, and I have this nice little stripe going up the top. All right, I kind of messed that one part right up there. I let it slip. Again, more pins is always better than fewer pins, in my opinion. All right, so I'm going to flip up my hat. You obviously don't have to do that. Here's where it goes really, really quick. We're going to use about a cup of poly pellets. These are non-odor, non-moisture absorbing weight used for stuffed animals. I'm just going to use a funnel and dump those in. There you go. Tappity tap on the table, and now it's time for polyfill. Now for this one, you are going to put a wire in it if you want a bendable hat. I just recommend the wire because it helps put the two pieces together seamlessly. So I'm going to rip apart that polyfill because I am going to be stuffing a wire in it. I want the smaller pieces. Speaking of the wire, we're just going to use a pliable wire. I'm going to curve down both the top and the bottom. So it's cut about 1 inch larger from the bottom to top of the gnome. So add 1 inch to whatever height you have, bend down the bottom, put the top little loop right up in the very top, and then be sure whether you're gluing or sewing this, catch the wire in the channel. Now the reason I'm doing this is because when you just put the wire inside of the gnome body, it will eventually start to move around. And that's kind of frustrating, especially if you sell your gnomes. You don't want that happening. So I'm going to sew up this channel. It looks like a Franken gnome at this point. Look at that. I was not paying attention. I'm reading a really good book, Audible book. Okay, so in order to hide this without having any strings, I'm just going to pop it through the body, pull it tight, and then snip it off, and it's going to disappear right inside. If you're making a seamless back and you know how to hand sew, yeah, that'd be really good too. All right, so you can see I'm just bending the top, making sure that, I can do the shape that I want. And now I'm going to set this aside after I slip on the hat. So I'm going to end up covering the back seam. So I end up turning this hat around, but I'm just lining up the two pieces of the hat and the body. The reason I'm doing that is because I want it to go all the way up into the hat as possible, as far as possible. All right, so again, I'm going to turn this hat around so I cover that back seam with this. This is doll hair. I'll put the link below. I just got it on Amazon, and it comes in these wefts, right? So it's this long sewn piece of very slinky, very beautiful doll hair. Looks great as braids as well as beards. But we're going to have to layer it because if you tried to put the single layer on, you would see nothing but the fleece showing through. So I'm cutting mine in half. So if I want to make a little matching girl gnome for this guy, I can. So using half of a single weft, I'm going to layer it. Now, I glued all this without recording, but basically I'm going to show you. See, it's just layered on top of each other, just like this. See? So I'm just taking my detailed tip Surebonder glue gun. Get this, I love it. And then I'm just going to layer this part over top, press it down, and we're good. Now, if you tried to glue this, I guarantee you it would come off. And if you sell, please don't do that. So what I did is I tied a knot in the same color embroidery thread, added it through the body, and then made a series of loops all along that glued weft. So I'm going under the weft top into the gnome, under the weft top into the gnome. So I do that all the way across. Now, again, I do a lot that I give to charity. I do a lot that I give as gifts. So I want to make sure this is as solid as it can be. Again, you do you. Try and glue it on, move it around, bend the body in the hat, see if it works. All right, so I just knotted it off, do the same thing where I hide the thread, boop, just disappears. That's probably my favorite part of having to sew up a body. All right, so you can see mine is a little long and it's splitting down at the bottom, but this is basically the look that I want. I want this hat with a turned up look, and the back, right now, nothing is glued on. I'm going to adjust the beard after I pin the hat down, right? because I haven't put a nose on yet. Haven't done anything. All right, so I'm going to make sure it's all brushed out. I'm going to put it on something tall, and then I'm just going to cut it in an angle up one side, and then cut it in an angle down the other side that matches. So this stuff, when I say it's slimy, that's a bad word. It's slinky. It moves around a lot. It's very fine, right? So if you have fine hair that doesn't take a curl, that's kind of like this stuff right here. But you can see it moving as I go, as I cut it. So it's a little bit frustrating. You can also do it on a flat surface like we do with macrame, but I found that it shifted a lot. So this is the better one. So it took me a couple of rounds to do this because I wanted to make sure that doll hair was to the edge and wouldn't split. All right, so just trimity, trim, 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 and then just, you know, take all those shavings away, clean up your space, get those off of there. All right, so now I can unglue the hat, making sure it's pulled all the way down. I'm actually going to glue the nose directly to the hat because I want the focus of the eye drawn up to that striped pattern. And then I'm going to glue the brim of the hat back so that the weight of the nose doesn't pull it down. Easy peasy, right? I'm going to go up through the flaps in the center back of the hat, glue that directly to the body. Again, you can sew this in place as well. I was very indecisive for a little while on all of my Christmas adages, but I ended up using a frosted fern and these Hobby Lobby vase filler berries, maybe. I love them. I have to find out more crafts to do with them. All right, so I'm just going to cut off the bottom pieces of these so I can get a tiny little bit that's flat and tuck it into the brim. And then I'm going to glue it down. So I want it like kissing the top of the nose and coming down the side. Again, I really want to highlight this large nose. All right. Speaking of the nose, it's just a wooden bead, but you can use a felt ball, pom-pom, fabric stuff with polyfill, whatever your heart desires. I glued on one and then two and then three little beads. Gave him a little, hey, how you doing? There you go. And he's done. As I said, I may make a little girl with braids to match him, but I really like working with the doll hair. I haven't tried curling it yet. Let me know if you have. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think of this? Will you make it? As always, I sincerely appreciate you being here with me. Please like, share, and subscribe for more crafty fun.